Hello and welcome everybody to the Humanitarian Innovation Pitch event. My name is Bernard Kovac and I'm the head of the World Food Programme's Innovation Accelerator. It's my great pleasure to extend a warm welcome on behalf of us, everybody organizing the government of Luxembourg and Austria, but also a special welcome from the World Food Programme Executive Director, Cindy McCain, who really wanted to express her best wishes and everything that you're going to see tonight is going to be exciting to transform the humanitarian ecosystem. Now, we are here right now talking about humanitarian innovation because the humanitarian ecosystem, humanitarian assistance is stretched to the limits. On the one hand, we are seeing that conflict, climate change, natural disasters, they are on the rise. We're seeing the needs are rising every single day. And even just in the context of hunger, we know that right now there's 345 million people marching towards starvation. This is something that we cannot be content with. And at the same time, we see that there's even more funding challenges, there's a lot of pressure on humanitarian work, actors, NGOs, but also business to do the work that's necessary to help some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. But there is hope, and this is where today's program comes in. The innovators and startups that we're seeing, they are the superstars that have the potential to transform the work of the humanitarian assistance of UN organizations, NGOs, but also offering new opportunities through technology and innovation. And what is it that we can do about that? Well, if you are joining us here today, if you are joining us online, there's a lot of exciting things that you can do. All of you can support one of those innovations and startups, and there's also more potential thinking about in the world that we're living in. There's so much opportunity. Why don't we also grab this opportunity to help some of the most vulnerable people across the planet? Now, this is just a quick hello from me. But we couldn't do the work, the Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator program, without the partnership and support from two great partners. So it's the government of Luxembourg and Austria. But it's my great pleasure to first introduce Your Excellency, Minister of Economic Cooperation and Humanitarian Affairs, Mr. Franz Fayot. Please welcome Franz on stage. A warm welcome.
Thank you so much, and good evening to all of you. It's really a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. This is actually something that is very dear to my heart, and I'm really happy that this Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator came to fruition. It is an idea with which I surprised my team in a meeting with David Beasley in Rome in 2021. When I proposed to do this Humanitarian Innovation Summit, as it was first called in the first rendition of the idea. And so I think they were a little bit taken aback. And I must start by really thanking my team at Luxembourg Development Corporation for the tremendous work they have done, Max and the whole team, in making this possible and in making this happen. So big hand to them. They were the ones to follow up on this slightly ambitious idea. Not all these ideas are actually yielding in something. I have launched other ideas in public speeches in front of my team and kind of startled them. But this is by far, I would say, the most successful, and I'm really happy that this is such a great success. And so they basically took up the ball and they got into contact with the World Food Programme, the UN's, I think, most successful agency when it comes to innovation, and also partnering up with the the Austrians. It has been a long day. Sorry about that. The Austrian Development Corporation. And I think all in all, this has been a wonderful team effort. The idea behind this was actually quite simple. I see a lot of innovation in my job as Minister of Economy. I was actually earlier on at ICT Spring, and I see all this innovation in tech, in space, in circular economy, so it's high tech, it's low tech, and all these fantastic ideas that we are developing and creating here in Luxembourg. And I said to myself, this is something you have to put to work for humanitarian action. It was said before, there are so many challenges, and the challenges keep getting bigger. There are more and more crises, humanitarian crises. There are the ones that continue, protracted crises, and then there are the new ones which keep coming. And it seems that it's very hard to tackle all these situations, all these humanitarian crises with the means that we have, and the UN knows it very well. We know it in Luxembourg. The finances are not there, the funding is not there, the means are not sufficient to tackle everything, and this is really a dramatic situation. And so I think really that all the ideas we have and all these new technologies that are keep getting more performant, AI of course is now the example of the day, and I really think that this is the next industrial revolution which is rolling out in front of our eyes. And of course, all these things which have implications in the economy, destroying jobs, disrupting many things, can also be put to work for a good cause, for preventing disasters, for being more predictive, for also helping the humanitarian staff and resources on the ground become more effective to tackle all these crises. And so that's the idea behind all of this. We have done it before with Emergency LU. We have done it with the ICRC recently, with the cyber delegation that we have built on the back of this digital backbone and digital platform that we build in Luxembourg. That is so attractive to the tech community, as we can see next door at ICT Spring. So the idea really is to use this for good, use tech for good in the broader sense, but use innovation for good, everything we are doing here. And of course also everything that all the innovators from across the world that have participated in this program are building. Really looking forward to your pitches in a few minutes, and I'm convinced that bringing all this community together, the humanitarian community with the tech community, will give fantastic results. And I really hope that this is only just the first edition of this very successful Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Fayot. I think you closed on a very strong point about how we bring humanitarian and technology worlds together. But again, we couldn't do this without all the supporters. So it's another great pleasure to introduce Heinz Haberteuer, Deputy Managing Director of the Austrian Development Corporation stage. Heinz, the stage is yours.
The minister is a big... Your Excellency, Minister Fayot, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues. The fight against poverty, peace and security, and climate change, these are matters that are very close to our heart at the Austrian Development Agency. Last year, if I remember, across Europe, we saw, because of the many droughts, the drop of the river levels, not only in Germany, but also in the Czech Republic and in France. And this phenomenon has surfaced stones. And on these stones are messages written, messages, very serious messages as a reminder. And one of these messages I will read to you. It said, we cried, we cry, and you will cry. These so-called hunger stones serve as a warning for famine. And they give also an echo to the current worsening of the climate crisis all around the globe. This year alone, a record of 339 million people will need humanitarian assistance and protection. This is an increase of about 65 million compared to 2025. There is a growing number, as the Minister said, of complex and long-term crises. This is a strain which is being driven by climate change, as I said, and also the war in Europe, and new and escalating crises such as the conflict in Sudan. So the imperative for a significant change to humanitarian funding and response is very obvious. Innovation is the creating, there we have the innovators of the use and new ideas or methods. That's why we're all here today. We're looking forward to see the pitches. And you have come to present them, the inspiring ideas, which is good. So we see and we learn on how to address humanitarian needs in the future more effectively. The Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator program has received about 370 applications, out of which 16 will be showcased right now. And you have come a long way. You have worked very hard. You have convinced the committee so that you have been invited. And I think that your hard work that you have put into the programs has really paid off. That's what I could see just outside of this room. Innovation and digitization are essential in many aspects of our daily life. With your ideas and your determination, you have shown that humanitarian assistance and innovation go hand in hand. Innovation in humanitarian assistance is, for us, the order of the day. I would like to quote Albert Einstein, who once said, you can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created. You have to rise above it to the next level. So therefore, I would like to conclude by saying that I wish you very good success, going to impress us, and I wish you the best of luck for your pitches. I also have to thank our dear friends at the Ministry for Development Cooperation and Humanitarian Aid and the Minister for letting us to join this wonderful idea and the team. But also have to thank certainly our friends from the WFP, Mr. Kovac and his team, that have worked very hard, and certainly also to Lux Innovation, that was a very good and great facilitator for this event today. So thank you very much indeed for your attention, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Franz. And, you know, it's good that Franz mentioned like a lot of the stats and like the really shocking reality that we're facing right now in the humanitarian system. Like, if you care about any of that, right? Now, you're gonna see some examples of hope that could really, really transform this. I can tell you, because we're running actually a couple of accelerator programs. We're running 15 accelerator programs. They're really great. So you have to applaud for them. You know, like every single time somebody comes on stage and off stage, applaud like you really care about solving that issue. So I want to hear like the best applause you can offer. But now, the rest of the program, you will be guided through by my colleague, Michel Joseph. Michel, the stage is yours.
Wow, thank you so much, Bernard, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm really delighted to be your host for tonight. Before we get started with the amazing lineup of pitches we have for you, I wanted to just give you a little bit more context to the journey that the innovators have taken with us together with the Austrian and Luxembourg government thus far. So, of course, earlier this year, we launched a global call for applications with the aim to identify the most promising innovations that are addressing humanitarian challenges faced by vulnerable communities and humanitarian actors. After a very rigorous application process, we worked and identified the 16 teams that you see here today. And prior to this evening, they joined a virtual boot camp where they worked with us at the Accelerator to learn and apply innovation methodologies and entrepreneurial approaches to their projects. Since then, the teams have been diligently preparing to share with you their progress, their plans for the future, their call to action, but fourthly, really their ask from you, whether it be for funding, whether it be for partnerships or collaborations, and of course, whether they need advice or mentorship. Now, after tonight, they will, of course, continue on, get back to work, and share a sprint application with us at the Accelerator for the opportunity to receive up to $500,000 in funding and be one of the 8 teams that go on with us for a 12-month support program with the Accelerator. So this is what will go on after this evening. Now, just to give you an idea of what to expect tonight, so first we'll start with the first half of pitches. We'll go on for a quick break, a very quick break, and then we'll resume with a fireside chat where we'll hear from 3 distinguished guests. Then we'll close with our final half of pitchers. We'll hear some closing remarks, and then you'll have the opportunity to follow up with what you heard this evening and connect with the ventures as well as the NGOs that are showcased outdoors. And then, of course, we can't close without a little bit of party, so we'll have a social event and a dinner to celebrate and continue networking and really discuss our plans together for the future. All right, so how the pitches will work, well, each pitcher will come up, they will have 3 minutes. We're keeping it short and sweet, and then we'll go on to the next pitch. So, are you all ready to hear from the first pitcher? Okay. Amazing. Well, then, without further ado, I'd like to invite Richard Thanke from Jangala to come up and kick us off for the evening. Richard?
Good evening, everyone. This little purple box has the potential to connect every humanitarian emergency. This is Jangala's Big Box, a grassroots innovation that's been honed in crises all over the world. Our work began in the Calais Jungle refugee camp in northern France. It's a short drive from here in Luxembourg, but a world away in every other respect. Here, thousands of residents and hundreds of aid workers were living and working without a basic necessity, internet access. Picture the stark difference between here and there. It's a wake-up call. In response, we built a Wi-Fi network that covered the camp. Every week, more than 5,000 people use this network. Residents to connect with loved ones, access vital services, plan their futures, and the aid workers to better organize and coordinate their work. It became a digital lifeline connecting the camp. And so we started Jangala with a simple question. How can we get this kind of empowering internet access to every emergency? And our answer is Big Box. So Big Box is a uniquely powerful and flexible humanitarian tool. It can combine multiple sources of internet. It powerfully manages them. It can connect 200 people by itself and be expanded easily to connect thousands. It can be controlled from anywhere in the world, and it's easy to use. Over 100 Big Box prototypes have now been deployed in 34 countries. They've connected refugees, responders, with grassroots groups, as well as big organizations like the IOM, UNICEF, and UNHCR. But let's talk about one example. This is Serve On. They deployed in the aftermath of the Turkey-Syria earthquake. They took 2 big boxes, which allowed them to connect their mobile teams on the road, displaced populations, and they even connected the UN's reception center for emergency teams, allowing teams as soon as they came in to connect, coordinate, and start working. So imagine if every humanitarian organization had access to a tool like Big Box. Now, we can't do that alone. We need your help. So we're asking funders here to help with our journey from prototype to scale production. We're asking governments, UN agencies, and NGOs to help make Big Box a part of the standard toolkit for response. But I'd like to leave you with the words of a frontline rescue worker, Dan T, in grey there, who worked in Lesbos there, pulling boats out of the sea. And he says, people arrive crying and shaking with trauma. They're hungry, dehydrated, freezing cold, and soaking wet. But the first thing they ask me is not for food or water. They ask to borrow my phone or if I have a charger so they can call their loved ones to let them know that they're safe, that they made it across alive. They ask me for Wi-Fi. And Big Box allowed Dan and his team to answer that question. Thank you.
but a great way to start the night. Now, we know that internet access is critical in emergencies, whether it's to keep in touch with friends and family, whether it's for health services, education, the list goes on. Jingala is making that possible in a variety of humanitarian contexts with Big Box. Thank you, Richard. Now on, I'd like to invite Muhuri Muva from Unified Aid to talk about their work. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madhuri, and I'm honored to be here today representing Unify Aid. I'd like to share a captivating story with all of you that will inspire us to take collective action. Meet Anita, a pregnant woman in her mid-20s who lives in a remote slum in Hyderabad. Her story is not hers alone. It also involves her 3-year-old daughter, who adds a layer of love and responsibility to her journey. Imagine waking up every day to a life where clean water, nutritious food, and healthcare seem like luxuries rather than necessities. Anita depends on humanitarian organization support to fill this gap. However, her experience with receiving aid has been far from ideal. Sometimes she doesn't receive it in time, or she receives aid that she doesn't currently need. There have been instances where the aid intended for her is given to someone else, and the quality of the aid that she receives is so poor that she has to throw it away. Unfortunately, she has no means to address these issues or voice her concerns. During our journey in Telangana, the state where Hyderabad is located, we not only witnessed Anita's hardships, but also many others like her. This shed light on a larger problem, leading us to collaborate with the Child Development Services, a state government department dedicated to serving pregnant and breastfeeding women, as well as young children. Together, we identified a crucial gap in their aid distribution system: the lack of a reliable method to record proof of deliveries and to engage beneficiaries at the last mile. This is where our solution comes in. It's a web and mobile-based application. The delivery person identifies Anita's house using the app, and both of them record the proof of delivery by either scanning the QR code or taking a picture of the package. And this seamless approach not only records the proof of delivery, but also rewards both parties. These reward points can be converted into money for day-to-day expenses. Our collaboration with the Child Development Services has had a positive impact on the health and well-being of thousands of program beneficiaries. By ensuring targeted aid distribution and actively engaging with them, we understand their needs and value their opinions. With a proven track record and strong partnerships with organizations like UNICEF, IDB, and JPIGO, we're ready to take our solution globally, with a focus on low and middle-income countries, where humanitarian aid is crucially needed. Unify Aid is designed for humanitarian organizations, NGOs, governments, and banks. Come join us as our valued clients and partners. And if you're an individual who possesses expertise in scaling technology for aid, then your guidance and mentorship are warmly welcomed. Let's revolutionize humanitarian aid delivery together and improve not only Anita's lives, but millions of others. Thank you very much.
Great. So Unified Aid, with their platform, they're giving real-time visibility and transparency into the entire supply chain to monitor and deliver aid more effectively and efficiently. Thank you so much, Muhuri. Now on, I'd like to ask Mohammed Aburari from Speedar to please join me on stage.
Rows and rows of ambulance cars lined in front of a gate. For many here, you would think this is a hospital or some kind of medical facility. It isn't. This is the Libyan-Tunisian borders. And these are ambulance cars carrying patients who couldn't find care within their own country. For thousands who can't afford the expensive and burdensome journey, oftentimes they have to not find other options for the care they need. Actually, I took this picture in 2011, printed it out, and had it in my back pocket ever since. It reminded me of the situation back home in Libya. However, this is not unique to Libya. Quarter of the world's population, about 2 billion people, live in countries deemed fragile with limited to no access to care. Hi, my name is Mohammed Abrawi, a Libyan doctor and founder and CEO of Spitar. Spitar in the local dialect means place of care, refuge, and healing. And that's what we did at Spitar. We are on a mission to heal, creating solutions, sustainable and scalable, to ensure the delivery of care to those who need it most, the vulnerable populations in fragile settings, through remote health provision, advocacy, leadership, and most importantly, education and local capacity building. We basically respond to the urgent humanitarian needs while making sure to build a sustainable and resilient care system. You see, the equation is simple. Reliable quality care with continuity saves lives and creates opportunity. Spitar is unique, and it not only connects providers to patients remotely, making sure there is a culture and language match, it also connects providers together, those remote and those on the ground, allowing for capacity building through integrated digital tools. We build the knowledge that contextually is appropriate. We reach patients where they are. Through our health system, we go to the areas that are remote with low connectivity, ensuring we collect biometrics and the data that is often missing in the system. And we gather that data in our own integrated cloud-based EMR, which is secure, safe, and ensures that the data flows and is accessible by all stakeholders. We integrate with the local clinics, pharmacies, hospitals, but also surveillance units. And that helped us lead the COVID response in Libya back in 2020. All this data is available for stakeholders to ensure better allocation of the limited resources. Our global stakeholders, providers, in terms of nurses, community workers, therapists, span over 30 specialties. So far, and since our launch in 2019, we're proud to have served over 2 million people, more than 60% being girls and women. But behind every data point, there's a human story. And this is the story of Samia, a 16-year-old living with diabetes who has been internally displaced with her family. Samia was able to connect to Spitar's application and get the quality care that she needs despite her mobility. And Samia's story is among thousands of those that Spitar has been able to impact. Our solutions is vetted and trusted by partners, international agencies, governments, local NGOs, and academic institutions such as Harvard and MIT. We are on a mission to scale, hoping to reach 10 million people within the next 3 years. And we're doing that by doubling down on mental health, making sure we build systems that are not only conflict, but also climate resilient. We want to make sure to tailor our solutions to best fit those with disabilities, chronic conditions, but also children and women at the forefront. And these are the Spitarians, the team I'm proud to lead and be here today to present. And much like myself, they are members of the communities we serve. We have experience being displaced and know what it's like not to have access to reliable care. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, let's go together. So today, with your support, let's continue to bring this impact to the lives of those who need it most. Thank you.
Great. So Spitar is using telehealth services in post-conflict affected communities, and they're using a community-led approach that's simply transformative. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Now, I'd like to ask Ludwig Lös from Opero Services to please join us on stage. Come on up, Ludwig.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Whenever people gather, diseases spread. One of the most common routes of disease transmission is through contaminated wastewater, if not contained and treated properly. We here can simply use the toilet, and the rest will be taken care of. In the global context, however, more than 3.6 billion people lack access to safe sanitation, and another 500 million people practice open defecation. When humanitarian emergencies occur, unsafe sanitation further endangers the weakest group of society at that time. Diarrheal disease alone is responsible for 40% of child deaths in the early stages of an emergency. And that's exactly where we come in. We block transmission pathways of pathogens by pasteurizing fecal sludge. Our solution has achieved this by the combination of a biogas reactor as the first stage and a pasteurizer as a second stage. The biogas we produce in the reactor is subsequently burned to heat up the wastewater, thus killing all the pathogens that are contained within it. Here you can see a picture of our system. On the right side, you can see our biogas reactor, and on the left side, the first iteration of our prototype. The key characteristic of our system is that it is energy independent. We do not need additional energy inputs in the form of a fuel or a gas. What we need in the form of a gas is what we produce in the reactor. On top of that, the treated wastewater at the end of our process can be used as a fertilizer, further adding value to our solution, which already costs less than $10,000. It doesn't stop there, however. Our system is non-sewered, it is decentralized, it can be set up within less than 2 days and does not require civil work. Its operation and maintenance is simple, no trained workers are required. So far, we have been able to test our system with 2 iterations of prototypes in Kisumu, Kenya. Repeated tests have shown that our system is achieving consistent pathogen reduction rates of 100%. All this while our energy balance adds up, no fuel, no gas required. What we have built up in Kenya is very close to real-world conditions, and already today, our system is able to treat the wastewater of more than double the amount of people that are present in this room right now. What we now need is the opportunity to do one more development step and bring our system to deployment in a real-world scenario to bring it to stop the spread of disease. We know that our technology works, and we know what we need to implement. What we're asking for is $130,000 and a partner who can bring this technology to the field and deliver real impact and progress when it comes to sanitation and hygiene in emergency situations. Bringing you back to the fact that 40% of child deaths in the early stages of an emergency are caused by diarrhea, let's change that together. Thank you very much.
Amazing. So with Opero's easy-to-use prototype, they're able to sterilize the waste, eliminate pathogens, and it also can be used as a fertilizer byproduct. I'm really excited to see how this continues to develop. All right, now I'd like to ask Suraj Gautam from Team Dasta to please join me on stage. Suraj.
Thank you, Mr. Hello, namaste, and good evening. This is Suraj, all the way from Nepal, a small country that lies in the lap of Himalayas. Despite being a beautiful country, Nepal is exposed to a multitude of disasters. And the effects of climate change is also getting pronounced in the form of unprecedented weather patterns and intense rain that is resulting to the problems of flooding and inundation. Meet Ganga from Nepal, who had her house, cattle, and paddy field swept away by the flood of early morning at 2 a.m. in October 19, 2021. So now she has 2 problems. One, she didn't get timely information. And the second one is she didn't know that her house is exposed to flood, because household level risk assessment is never a thing here. So envisioning this and citing to this problem, we developed a solution called Digital and Spatial Technologies for Anticipatory Action. So keeping leave no one behind and no regrets action at the center. So what it does is, first, it goes to household level risk assessment down to the granular level and identifies the vulnerable households, exposures, so that they can prepare prior to disasters. And what is even more interesting or more useful is that it integrates the information of forecast and near real-time observations data. So that helps them to respond quickly and also develop a baseline for the risk communication. So in this way, we are integrating this solution to develop a very proactive solutions towards the anticipatory action. And using Dasta, now we have assessed more than 24,000 households in Nepal. And Ms. Ganga receives the timely information regarding any kinds of prior flooding on her mobile phone in the form of SMS or IVR or the mobile applications, and now she has access to household level risk assessments. So in this way, it is changing the way from the reactive approaches towards the proactive approaches. So I have now we are scaling the work that we have done in Nepal, and the region of Maradi in Niger is also it's also having a lot of disasters. As you can see, in the problems of 2022 flooding, there were more than thousands of households were affected by the flood. So the Dasta solution is now getting scaled in that region, and we have a local partner, that is EDISA, who will be looking after leveraging partnerships with the governments, the NGOs, and other different stakeholders towards the risk communication and anticipatory action. Further, the private sectors will also explore the disaster risk financing solutions. So, and down at the household level, they will have access to the household level disaster preparedness and response plan. And they will be knowing on what to do prior to any kinds of disasters, and they will get timely informed. So this is what we are planning to do, and there I would like to welcome you all to join this movement. So I'd like to invite the fund panels, UN and humanitarian agencies to provide us with $150,000 US to scale this product so that this solution does not get limited just in Nepal, but beyond. I would also like to explore for the potential partnership collaborations with the humanitarian agencies and climate data centers so that this tool, Dasta, can be made as a powerful decision-making tool. So let's join our hand in making this solution very much feasible and then a powerful tool towards the risk assessment. Thank you so much. I would like to introduce.
So there are many humanitarian actors in the room, and we know how critical it is to not only anticipate shocks, but forecasting as well in vulnerable communities. Dasta is doing just that. They not only have the risk assessments, but they're also notifying households to receive critical information through their mobile phones. Thank you, Suraj. Now, I'd like to ask Paulo Campanella from WASD to please come up on stage and share their work. Paulo?
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, and since we are based here, let me add Muyen, and welcome to Luxembourg. WASD is an Earth observation platform specialized in mapping worldwide natural and anthropic disasters. Our technology has been used in many international emergencies, such as the tsunami in Fukushima in Japan, 2011, or the forest fire in Chernobyl, Ukraine, in 2020, but also in Jakarta, the urban flood in Indonesia in 2021. Last year, the Asian Development Bank requested us to monitor the flood that affected over 30 million people in Pakistan. After the event, the bank requested further assistance for the preliminary impact assessment to evaluate the amount of the loan for the reconstruction. This is a real challenge. We all know that natural disasters are increasing, but also the humanitarian community, here represented today, is continuously improving the ability to prepare and respond to these disasters. To make this happen, our community is becoming eager of fast, reliable, and worldwide information. The space is the answer. To provide the information to the bank, our team of 6 people worked 1 full week to gather information about school, hospitals, crops, grasslands, all the critical infrastructure. After this experience, we developed the prototype of our new impact detection tool. For this specific case, we are now able to reproduce the same result with a fully automatic chain within just half an hour. Is to turn this into another operational service that we decided to explore this opportunity in collaboration with LIST that can provide the required scientific quality, and the Luxembourg Red Cross that can help us to refine the requirements and validate the solution on the field. To make this happen, we require financial resources to make our small team grow up, and we are always looking for new pilot cases to test and validate our solution worldwide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Very impressive. So WASD is an Earth observation tool that allows them to map and monitor emergencies, whether it be floods, droughts, resettlements, and so on. Really looking forward to see the work that you do next. Now on, I'd like to ask Justin Hensroth from Team Zeit to please join me on stage. Justin?
Hello, and thank you. Zeit is a software platform to help humanitarian teams use data to improve performance and operational accountability. This year, an estimated 339 million people will require some form of humanitarian assistance. A 24% increase since last year. This means that humanitarian agencies are being called to support more people facing more complex challenges in more places than ever. And while the particulars of every individual humanitarian response are varied and distinct, there are some common challenges that, through my own experience working in the Nepal earthquake response and the many teams I've had a chance to work with around the world, continue to face. On the ground, there are a lack of quality control systems to help programs and teams really understand whether they're meeting their intended targets, standards, and goals. There are minimal feedback loops between what teams are learning on the front lines and management. And even where data is being collected digitally, it is rarely being used to inform operations and day-to-day decision-making. We built Zeit as a kind of productivity suite for the humanitarian sector to really think about how they can better digitize their work and inform the operations that they're doing day-to-day. Our first deployment was in the Rohingya camps of Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. We started working with IOM on their community feedback mechanism. When we arrived, they had a digital data intake form, but that was about it. Someone could come to an IOM desk, they could say, I have a problem, and it went into a great digital database. There was a monthly summary produced of that, but no action was really ever taken. Unfortunately, the kind of issues going into that database were not general feedback that you might use to sort of think about how you can do better over time. They're very specific issues. Things like, I lost my ID and I'm having trouble accessing basic services. Or, the toilet on my block is broken. These things don't just require a follow-up. By any standard of human dignity, they really demand that we go right to that person and figure out what we can do. And so using Zeit, we were able to essentially build an accountability loop for every single one of these issues that's coming in. As a piece of data comes in, it goes through a series of automated workflows that assigns it to the responsible agency or individual person. An additional series of monitoring steps are used to record the management actions taken in response. And finally, once that issue is resolved, we're able to provide a direct response back to the beneficiary. Zooming out, we're starting to scale Zeit across a range of different contexts and countries. In Somalia, we're using Zeit as an operations and monitoring platform for public facilities in 1,700 IDP camps and communities affected by famine. In Ukraine, we're monitoring resource availability at refugee resettlement centers in order to direct refugees to where they're most likely to get the kind of support they need. Since 2021, we've launched Zeit with 15 humanitarian programs across 10 countries, and we're now serving every major level 2 and level 3 humanitarian emergency worldwide. Collectively, we've served over 600,000 individual beneficiaries across all of these countries. but we're just getting started. We really believe that Zeit can be a sector-wide platform to help all agencies really focus on operational performance on accountability. I invite you to join us in this mission by either providing support, helping us identify potential users, or supporting new collaborations on other ways. On behalf of my team, without none of this is possible, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So as he said, it's so important that community feedback doesn't just die on a shelf. With Zeit's platform, they're using this to offer precise data points that allows them to streamline operations in the field. Now, I'd like to ask Juveline Ngum to please come up for Team Bleagley and talk about their work.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Juveline Ngum. I grew up in one of the most populated slums in Cameroon, West Africa, and was affected by respiratory issues at the age of 12. I couldn't study at school properly because I had several respiratory issues caused by smoke pollution from burning of waste in open fields. While I thought this was a problem in informal settings only, I realized it is a bigger problem in humanitarian settings. In West Africa, mainly Cameroon and Senegal, refugee camps are hosting over 8 million people. Food, water, sanitary items, tents, and other supplies come in on trucks. The trash or packaging waste, on the other hand, never really leaves, causing serious air pollution, respiratory issues, and multi-hazard scenarios. Bleagley is providing a threefold solution. First, software for drones to quickly identify poor waste disposal on physical sites. 2, a digital platform to provide incentives to individual owners of waste in exchange for their waste. The waste is then collected and sold to recycling companies. The total addressable market for packaging waste in the humanitarian response system is $25 billion. In Cameroon and Senegal, it's $1.4 billion. Our business model is a B2B and B2C. Customers for B2B include government agencies and relief organizations, as the data from our software can be shared with them to help them make better decisions on preventing littering of packaging waste. For B2C, our customers include individual owners of waste, as they can sell their waste via a digital platform for incentives. Till date, we have saved over 42 million kilograms of carbon dioxide, over 402 jobs have been created, and individual owners of waste have increased incomes by up to 30%. We are asking $400,000 that will help us upgrade our software, buy additional drones, and recruit a senior supply chain manager that will further track packaging waste in the humanitarian response system. This will help us reach 6 new communities, 20 relief organizations, and 6 government agencies in Dakar, Senegal. With a management team that is made up of experienced and highly represented by women and a board made up of previous financial investors, our goal is to reduce packaging waste and its resulting carbon emissions. Join us as we are greening the supply chain of the humanitarian response system. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So with Bleagley's software, they're not only able to, with their software and their drones, effectively identify poor waste disposal, they're also generating employment opportunities for the community. Just look, as she said, a 30% increase in income for waste holders. It's incredible. So now we are coming up on our break. Before we continue with the second half of the night, we'll have 10 minutes to just stretch our legs, get some water and coffee, and then colleagues from my team will ask you very nicely to please come back to your seats on time so that we can continue the rest of the night. For those of you online, we'll see you in a bit. Thank you all. All right. Thank you all for taking your seats. So before we get back to the pitches, I'd like to pass the floor to Melody Rolfe, who's our community manager at the WFP Innovation Accelerator, to moderate our fireside chat. Melody, over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Welcome everyone to this fireside chat. We're so happy to have 3 distinguished guests here today to share their valuable insights. We'll be talking about our shared responsibility to innovate and the ways in which we can combine resources and talent across sectors to reach the 2030 agenda. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists, starting with Enrica Porcari, the IT department head of CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. Joining us next is Anna Daranova-Hartman, the corporate social responsibility manager at Amazon. And finally, we have John Warrens, the acting deputy head of innovation at UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. So we'll have 10 minutes in which we'll be able to ask one question to each of our guests here. And afterwards, we'll have a short lightning round where we'll ask one question to finalize the discussion. So I'd like to start with you, Enrica Porcari. So prior to your current role at CERN, you held the position of Chief Information Officer and Director of the Technology Division at the World Food Programme. And concurrently, you served as the chair of the UN Emergency Telecommunications Cluster. Now, at an interview at the Global People Summit in 2018, just before COVID, you profoundly said, real innovation is only meaningful if it comes with scale. And innovation left in a lab makes no difference. So considering your vast experience, this quote, and now that you're at one of the most respected centers for scientific research, why are technology solutions for big science appropriate for humanitarian needs as well?
Well, first of all, who knows what CERN is? Okay, so I don't have to tell you what CERN is, great. That will save a minute of my 3, so I can spend 3 minutes to really tell you what I want to talk about. So imagine an organization that has this incredible technology challenge of having beams of protons traveling at the speed of light, having to collide. I mean, the size is less than my hair. So imagine the technology that is behind that feat. So to make that accelerator, 27-kilometer accelerator work, with beams traveling at the speed of light, having the proton beams hitting each other and creating those beautiful images that then trying to support scientists to answer the fundamental question is, who are we? It's pretty amazing. So going back to 2018, I remember very well that interview where I said, if technology stays in the shelves, we're not honoring the commitment of actually bringing to society. And it's the same thing for CERN. The technology, the amazing technology that is developed to make this beautiful machine work has an opportunity and a responsibility, a societal responsibility to come out of the accelerator. So CERN has taken this role very, very seriously for many years. I don't know how many of you know that the World Wide Web was born at CERN as part of an effort of scientists who needed to exchange data sets, very large-scale data sets. And instead of putting them in suitcases on airplanes or ships and traveling to the US, someone said, how about if we put it on the internet? That's what it is. That's where the WWW was born as a protocol to make this information travel. The number of technology goes on. How many of you know that PET scans or radiotherapy for cancer fighting is actually based on technology that is developed at CERN. Again, the list goes on. Many of the technologies that we develop are then finding positive societal impact in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think at CERN we have this renewed impetus, renewed commitment to bring the technology that is developed for solving our fundamental questions of foundational science into society. And we will continue doing that. And this is one of the reasons I'm here. As a former humanitarian, you never stop being a humanitarian. And I see opportunities of offering the the technological advances that CERN produces in IT, from artificial intelligence, machine learning, to distributed computing, all the elements that are building our ecosystem in support of positive societal impact. So I see opportunities, having been on both sides, having been on the side of the need, and having seen on the side now of those who create this amazing technology. It's a renewed commitment to do that. So my closing thing is that, how can we help?
Thank you. Thank you. Now, having touched on tech solutions, I'd also like to turn to Anna and inquire about the private sector context. So as the CSR manager at Amazon, your role involves coordinating philanthropic initiatives and fostering strategic partnerships with nonprofits. So in this context, what is your experience with innovation at Amazon in the humanitarian sector, also with your vast experience beforehand in the humanitarian sector? And what are some key lessons that you'd like to share?
Thank you so much. I really feel it's kind of want to reflect on once humanitarian, always humanitarian. So being in that field for more than 10 years, and I moved into private sector, and I quickly realized, oh, we can do a lot here, because there are so many resources, tools, and mechanisms that we can use. And Amazon is just one company in the vast private sector, which can, in partnership with cross-sector partnerships with nonprofits, with social enterprise, with humanitarian agencies, can really make a difference in the places where it's most needed. The three lessons I would say that I definitely took with me and still working on, to be honest, because I have to say Amazon just keeps giving those lessons. The first one is working back from the customer. What I quickly realized is that Amazon as a company, and I've seen it also in a couple of other organizations, applies its day-to-day business logic to community work, to humanitarian aid and disaster relief. We look at our nonprofit partners as customers. We look at humanitarian agencies as customers. We look at the people who will get the support at the end as customers. And we just take the mechanisms, for example, marketplace solutions, Amazon Pay, wish lists, logistics, infrastructure, humanitarian hubs network, product, and we apply. We just take it and we apply it. And I could not believe at first that you can copy paste. Apparently you can. You just have to, you just have to bring all those actors at one table and start this conversation. That's why I find this place incredibly inspiring. The second lesson was definitely among all the support that we've provided in Ukraine, more than 75 million in product, infrastructure, logistics. With Syria and Turkey earthquakes, more than 3 or 4 million in product in partnership with International Organization for Migration. All that we needed to do in the end is take a step back, not rush forward and try to provide solutions, but step back and wait for our partners to come to us and say what the problem actually is. And if they don't tell us, then we ask that. And we ask it repeatedly till we annoy them to the point of them telling, that's my problem. And then we bring in the solution owners on our side, be it web services who work in the cloud structure, be it marketing, logistics, product, marketplace infrastructure, and we deliver the exact tailored solutions that the communities need. And the last but not least is definitely cross-sector collaboration. I think many companies and many representatives of the private sector have standed alone for too long. And that big stereotype that you have to somehow translate the languages from private sector to nonprofit, from nonprofit to humanitarian. You don't have to translate. You just have to bring them at the table and start this conversation. And I hope we're going to keep doing it.
That's a really good point, and I'm going to pick up on the topic of communities that you mentioned and getting to the bottom of the problem statement and ask John Warrens, so you lead the UNHCR's digital inclusion program, which aims to ensure that refugees and the communities that host them have the right and the choice to be included in a connected society. So how can we successfully bring in the expertise of the private sector while also ensuring that the communities themselves are at the center of innovative humanitarian programming.
Thanks very much, Melody. And I'll build off what Enrique and Anna have said, because it is this tension between that supply where you have all of this expertise in research institutions and in private sector companies, and how do you take that back to the challenge that communities are facing? And it's never a one-way street. You can't parachute in solutions. And to the point that Anna was saying around being customer client-centric, that is really something that needs to be baked in from the beginning. And we've seen some brilliant pitches today where we've heard from these innovative organizations who are engaging directly with communities to strengthen their value proposition. And I think any organization that invests time in speaking with communities and being client-centric has a much greater chance of success. But that's only on one side of this equation. I think the other is that in such a vivid ecosystem, there's so much knowledge out there in the wide array of partners that we have, not just from private companies, but also from civil society organizations, UN agencies, smaller NGOs, that there's a lot to learn from what's been done in the past and where we can actually bring that knowledge together. So it's so important to actually broker those partnerships in meaningful ways and not be afraid to ask for help or advice or guidance, because it's this common mission and shared values that really cement this. And events like this are great because they bring these people together to enable these connections to be forged and create new links. And we know in UNHCR we have many demand-driven refugee-led innovation funds where we see communities really asking for this mentorship and support, smaller organizations who want that, and we can come here today to make sure that we meet those needs and demands.
Thank you so much, John. I really look forward to seeing all of the conversations that come after this. There's the marketplace after the event. So now we will move into the lightning round. And in 5 words or less, I'd like to ask all of you, what advice would you give to the innovators that are sharing their ideas with us today? So we can go and start with John first.
Learn from others, particularly communities.
Anna?
The tougher it gets, the closer you're getting.
Enrique?
I have 6. Now, if you really want to know what it is, you have to give me the 6, because that's really what the thing. Can I have 6?
Yes, you can have 6.
Okay, so I got about. Innovation is not all about invention. You don't need to reinvent things all the time. Sometimes you just need going back into how do you apply what works in a certain segment, a certain market, someplace else. So it was more than 5 words, but.
I was going to ask what they think of that advice, but I think the clapping already answers. So thank you all so much for taking the time today and for everything that you do. And I'm sure that you'll also have the chance to talk with a lot of people here after the event. So we're now going to take a couple minutes to reset the stage. Please stay in your seats, and afterwards, Michelle will introduce the rest of the captivating pitches tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are back and ready to get started with our second half of our pitches. Are we ready to hear from the first pitch? All right. Fantastic. Then with that, I would like to invite David Wilkie from Sunlang. Please come up on stage.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave. Around 15 years ago, I left Australia for a holiday to Cambodia, fell in love with my tour guide, got married, and never returned. A self-confessed nerd, I decided to help other Cambodians find love and launched a mobile dating service. In order to use the service, subscribers just call 2442 and are randomly connected with somebody else. Then, around 2016, a local NGO reached out to us, interested in the technology behind the dating service, in order to build out a national early warning system. Fast forward to the 30th of September, 2022, and the flood levels are rising in a remote northwestern Cambodian village. Here's a timeline of the events that happened on that day. Around 7:30 in the morning, a local government official logs into the national early warning system and records an emergency evacuation message. Less than a minute later, Somleng starts to broadcast this message to people in the affected areas. By about 10 past 10 in the morning, more than 1,700 people have listened to the message on their mobile phone and have already taken action to evacuate their homes. From a love story to a dating service to powering the national early warning system of Cambodia, Somleng literally helped to save the lives of the villagers on this day. What makes Somleng really different is it can be used in a variety of different use cases, from powering the national early warning system in Cambodia, to telehealth in Zambia, to phone banking in Mexico, and even a telco in Canada. Somleng really is the open source communications platform. Somleng's business model is an open source business model, meaning that everything we build is open source and free to use, but we generate revenue from our SaaS and enterprise editions. Some of our customers include multinational NGOs, governments, telcos, and banks. So far, we've already generated quite a bit of traction, reaching more than 500,000 beneficiaries, generating more than 2 million interactions, and are deployed in 9 countries across 4 continents. We also received 3 rounds of funding from the UNICEF Innovation Fund. We're seeking $250,000 worth of funding in order to build a full stack early warning system, which will be built on the existing Somleng stack. The system will be used by government officials in Laos and NGOs in Laos in order to reach people in the affected areas. The system will be piloted in southern Laos and released as an open source digital public good for easy replication around the world. My co-founder Somnang and I are here today if you have any questions. And I just want to give a shout out to my wife who's listening from Cambodia. Thank you very much.
I love that. What an exciting journey for Somleng, an open source communications platform first used as an early warning system in Cambodia, and now going beyond that. And the results speak for themselves. They have impacted over 500,000 people, and they're deployed in 9 countries. Thank you, David. Now I'd like to invite another David. I didn't make the lineup. This is not on purpose. David Hamill from Balcony. Please come join me on stage.
Thank you, Michelle. Balcony is a new type of messaging platform. It is designed for operations and emergency response. And it empowers any organization to better handle emergencies and transform them into manageable situations. This is how we communicate today. I have an 18-year-old daughter. She handles her life on asynchronous chat. She exchanges information all day on WhatsApp, Snapchat, etc. It's bidirectional, it's multimedia, it's asynchronous. We can communicate with multiple people at the same time, multiple conversations. At the same time, when there's an emergency, those are the tools we use. Sirens, mass notification with an SMS, a single SMS, sometimes just a piece of paper on the wall, 2,000-year-old technology, right? It's a huge gap. And so in Balcony, we designed the messaging solution to cover that gap, basically allowing to engage people based on location, ensuring that the people get the right information at the right time to take action. At the end of the day, it empowers any organization to make sure that the information, mission-critical information, flows within the organization. it's a managed network. It's not a social network. We call it a situational network. We empower the decision makers to see where people are, to understand what situations, to communicate, to basically point at the map to get the information to the right people at the right time. It's an open architecture, so it integrates with AI, IoT, GIS. Basically, many of the solutions of my peers here that presented on this stage can be integrated, and we make information actionable. It's privacy by design, GDPR friendly. We have a unique way to deploy the solutions. It can be as simple as a single QR or a link, and it's as easy to use as WhatsApp. So zero training is required. Let me give you an example of a deployment. 2 years ago, Kabul, Afghanistan. NGO called Direct Relief is tasked with evacuating a few hundred people out of the chaos of Afghanistan. This is on the right, what we see is the situation on the ground. On the left, this is a vision of of the actual situation, a screen grab of the actual situation on balcony. The people in charge, which were based in Ann Arbor, Michigan, could see as if they were on a virtual balcony above Kabul, could understand the situation, see where people are, see what messages happen. Think for a second, receiving this message. Imagine receiving it on WhatsApp, on email, on a phone call, on radio. It's out of context. It will require you to ask for much more information to put it into context. On balcony, you can see exactly where it comes from. You can immediately put it into context. You can immediately escalate it to the local decision makers or to the local responders to take action. Balcony is operational and deployed around the world. It's been deployed and used in practically most of the recent conflicts that we've seen. And it's battle proven. And basically now we need to scale. So I'm here to ask for any organization that is deploying. We're looking for implementation partners. We can empower basically any humanitarian action around the world. And for donors and investors, we need your help in order to scale and make the situational network the next way of handling emergencies and operations. Think of it that way. Balcony is a technology that can empower any NGO, like this local NGO in Bangladesh, to have better operational and command and control tools than actually many of the Fortune 100 and other organizations leading around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And like he said, sometimes it's about having the right information at the right time and place for quick decision making. Balcony is offering a location-aware platform to improve humanitarian operations, and they're ultimately saving lives. Now, I'd like to ask Sasha Gayama from the Danish Refugee Council to please join me on stage and talk about your work. Sasha?
Thanks, Michelle, and hello, everybody. So my name is Sasha Gayama. I'm here for the Danish Refugee Council, and these photos were taken a few weeks ago only at the Sudanese and Egyptian border. And as in many forced displacement hotspots, unfortunately, humanitarian response can be far too reactive. We intervene after the fact and leave people in situations that can be unsafe and obviously difficult and undignified. Dignity, safety, and cost effectiveness. This is why, as humanitarians, we are all striving for more timely interventions in the world. Now, as you will have all heard, there are many humanitarians in the room, there's a big push among humanitarians for what is being described as anticipatory action, being able to predict and act before emergency needs arise. Now, a lot of the investment in anticipatory action has focused greatly on climate and climate-induced risks, which is obviously a significant risk, but few investments in anticipatory action have focused on climate-related hazards in conflict situations, and even fewer have focused on forced displacement triggered by conflict. And yet, if you think about Ukraine, you think about the Sahel, you think about the Horn of Africa, it's very difficult to accept as an answer that we cannot try to incorporate anticipatory action when factoring conflict simply because it is meant to be more difficult to predict, more difficult to act upon. And so at the Danish Refugee Council for about half a decade now, we've been investing in predictive analytics. We have a team of in-house data experts. And what we've done is we've created a machine learning-based forecasting model that can predict forced displacement induced by conflict. This is a model that effectively allows us to analyze vast amounts of open source data and use that data to predict forced displacement down to the district level up to 4 months in advance. We're piloting this model in 2 areas right now. We're piloting this model in the Sahel and in South Sudan. And it's already enabling us to work in very different ways. We are able to act by pre-positioning certain resources and materials in the anticipation that some people might be on the move or already on the move. We're also already able to intervene when tensions can be simmering and intervene before they effectively spill over. So these are very interesting lessons and that we are already garnering from our implementation. And this is all enabled by the power of AI and machine learning, which again is allowing us to overcome the presumed difficulty of being able to forecast forced displacement induced by conflict. By 2024, we hope that 22 million people will be covered by the early warning system that is informed by this forecasting model, and that 50% of the people covered by it will report an improved access to security and safety during periods of conflict. So where we are today and our appeal to you is we want to make anticipatory action accounting for conflict factors a mainstream dimension of anticipatory action today. So we were enjoining our humanitarian partners to help us apply our model in more context with you, but also for our technology partners in the room, perhaps, who can help us add more features to this model to provide even richer information, say satellite information and other things that we are thinking about currently. Together we can transform the way humanitarian response is delivered in conflict-affected situations. Thank you very much.
Great. So with this solution, Wakafi is actually filling a very critical gap when we're talking about anticipatory action approaches. They're accurately predicting future forced displacement induced by conflict. This is allowing humanitarian actors to not only act early, but even prevent displacement and be prepared to address needs that arise. Thank you, Sasha. All right. So now I'd like to ask Dennis Oswang from WaterKit to please join me on stage.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dennis Oswang from WaterKit, and let us talk about water. I'm going to start with one quick question, just to find out how the audience is. Just by show of hands, how many have used at least a cup of water since morning? Wow, most of us. Just help me keep your hand up if you have ever worried about the quality of the water you have used since morning. I see the number is reducing. Thank you. We don't have to worry about this because every day we find water easily from the comfort of our taps or from the perfectly packed glasses of water that we see all over around here. While that is the case, it's not the same case for everyone. I was born and raised in highly risky area in northern Uganda, where we had an insurgency that suffered for over 20 years. And I witnessed firsthand that access to water can be the difference between life and death for most people in vulnerable situations. That, you see, is the most reliable source of water that you'll come across in any refugee setting, schools, hospitals, and rural communities in Uganda and across sub-Saharan Africa. And unfortunately, this precious resource is facing a big challenge that as humanitarian aids keep outshore, giving new sources, more of these new sources are breaking down since they're aging. Why? Because over 80% of them are actually managed by the community, which do not have the budget. They're already poor, and they're struggling to finance the operation and maintenance of these community point water sources. So we realize that the biggest gap right now is actually not the system, but financing. With so many competing priorities and emergencies coming up every day, humanitarian action is moving towards actually new emergencies, and so many people are being left behind in dire situations. And we found a very innovative way to actually help the communities finance this critical human need. We have innovated actually a smart card solution, which is a digital wallet that is aimed at empowering rural communities to finance by themselves or with very little support their water, sanitation, and hygiene needs. And this is very simple technology that uses the local available mobile money that is available in most rural places in Africa. So the idea of the wallet is to encourage communities also start contributing some little savings towards the efforts of the humanitarian world in helping them finance their water, sanitation, and hygiene needs. But the wallet also provides for direct donation from you, people of goodwill, thank you, to actually individual households and water sources. Through the innovation, we hope to create actually a revolving fund that we cannot use to just finance a few water sources or households, but can remain in the pool and continue to finance and create more impact as we replicate to more other households. Thanks to our technology today, in the last 1 year alone of our operation, we are currently monitoring at least 500 boreholes. That's benefiting a population of at least 50,000 people in northern Uganda alone. And we hope this strong team you see here will help us to deliver this. And we hope that with your support of whatever form, we shall be able to create much more impact. So we are currently looking for at least $120,000 to help us further develop our technology and to be in position to at least finance at least 1,000 more community water points. And we're also looking for a strategic partner that can help us scale in new refugee settings in Uganda. Thank you for your time. I thank you all for giving the audience.
So the lack of access to wash is actually a challenging humanitarian crisis in places like Uganda. 2 billion people around the world are using unsafe water sources. And with WaterKit's wallet card, an enrolled community member can directly access wash and energy products through WaterKit via the village associations. This is a true community-driven innovation solution. Now, I'd like to ask Tala Ndaye from Opal, please join me on stage and talk about your work. Tala, over to you.
What expression, what feelings can you see on Mamadou's face? Sadness? Anger, maybe? Yàlla teg nañu natt ak géej in Wolof meaning. God has pushed the sea up to our houses. These are exactly the words of Mamadou Cham from Saint Louis, Senegal, the day after coastal erosion disaster made his home unlivable and forced him to leave. This is just a story. Like more than 100 in West Africa, and especially in Senegal, where people are impacted by climate shocks on their livelihoods and forcing them to leave their home. According to Professor Pape Goumbalo, one of the main experts in the area in Senegal, this can be remedied with good anticipatory strategies and decision-making. Humanitarian actors, municipalities, governments lack reliable, timely data, early warning systems, anticipatory planning tools to adequately prepare and respond to those climate shocks induced, or those migration induced by climate shocks. The irony, but also the good news is, today we have all the data
and technology that we need to do just that. And that's what we propose with our solution, Open Algorithm for Humanitarian Action. The magic of our socio-technological innovation is to process private data of companies and some public companies also behind their data centers without exporting this data. Such only relevant indicators are made available. These indicators can improve early warning systems, anticipatory planning to adequately prepare and respond to those migration with human and safe movement of people. We did it before. We technically proved that it is possible. For example, with telco data, we can predict how many people are likely to move from A to B as major rainfalls are forecasted, and help them by anticipating the movement and with for example, mobile clinics, beds, schools, etc. Now we are developing a pilot in Senegal and have developed a partnership on the ground with key actors such as the governments and main mobile phone providers. Now, we need you. We need you supporting our work by funding our work 800,000 in grants to finalize our pilot and scale it in another country in the Sahel. We need also develop partnership with you, humanitarian actors and government in the Sahel, and all NGO and institutions in this area to support our work by developing partnerships and let us have access to more data. So, with Opal, Mamadou and 1,000 people like him wouldn't have to live this difficult and complicated experience, and humanitarian actors and governments and all decision makers could have been prepared to anticipate this problem. Thank you.
Amazing. So like Tala said, humanitarian actors need access to more reliable data. With a solution like Opal, they're able to leverage non-traditional and various sources of data to make more precise decision-making and allocate resources in a more safe way. Thank you so much, Tala, for that. Now, I'd like to ask Omar Assad from New York Tech to please come up on stage and share with us about your work. Omar, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Omar Assad from Neurotech. We are a modern energy solution. Noor is holding her baby with completely darkness, with more than 15 hours per day, due to the absence of the energy in Azraq refugee camps in Jordan. Noor is not one case. There is hundreds, thousands, or we can say millions of people such as Noor suffering from the absence of the energy, which is affecting their lives, their foods, and also their health. This is due to the limited resources of the energy and limited resources of the funds for the UN and the NGOs, and also which is affecting an unfair distribution for the energy among the refugees. We are at Neurotech providing an AI-based energy management solution, a hardware part and another software part, which is affordable, easy to use, and plug and play in different scenarios in different areas around the world, which help the camps management to make a fair distribution for the energy among the refugees by dividing it for high priority and low priorities. by using some load identification and demand-side management with basic UI interface and dynamic energy allocations with secure against any type of vandalism. One of our bright cases was in Azraq camp in Jordan, where we have restored the energy for 24 hours for more than 1,000 refugees there, and also we have reduced the pressure on the camp hospital, and we get the highest impact pilot as per NGOs. We have a good partnerships in the local and international with some NGOs and UN agencies, and also with some with some private sectors in Jordan and around the world, in Africa and in Europe and in the US market. And we have recognized this year from the BWC as the net zero for future for them report. Our team is a group of managerial and engineering with more than 12 years of experience in energy and the humanitarian sector, with more than 24 amazing employees. We are asking for around 1.3 million to expand our impact and services for another 500,000 people around the world, and greening another 10 camps around the world, and accelerating the human response, and expanding our geographical research in another 5 countries. Thank you for listening to me all.
Thank you so much, Omar. So Noura Tech is offering an emergency management solution that can be plugged anywhere where there is a main supplier for electricity, like the one he referenced in Jordan. Thank you, Omar. Now, I'm happy to ask Chris Hoffman from Humanity Link to please join us on stage and talk about your work. Chris, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I know it's been a long evening so far, so please bear with me because I think you're going to like what we're going to talk about. My name is Chris Hoffman. I'm the CEO of Humanity Link, where we create conversations for humanity. This is my family. I believe that my family deserves to be able to access any service that they require using their mobile phone, their computer, web-based technologies where we live. But I also feel that that's unfair if someone like Halima isn't able to do that. What we've been able to do is help Halima be able to get all those services that she requires in a refugee camp in Kakuma, Kenya, to be able to do it over the mobile phone at her home. Because usually what Halima has to do is go stand in line for 5 hours and wait to be serviced by one of the NGOs that are there. She lost her ID, waited for 3 hours in line at UNHCR, with her children not being able to eat their lunch, with her not being able to access her business that she needs to have her livelihood from. While she stood there, what she left with was only a receipt to pick up her ID on another day where she has to come again and stand in line. We've been able to design systems that refugees have on their existing phone. We don't ask them to download an app. We don't ask them to access a proprietary service. We engage with them over the SMS, over USSD, which are on basic phone technologies. We engage with them also, if they do have a smartphone, over WhatsApp, Viber, Telegram, and Signal through encrypted messaging that we're able to pass through our platform, which we call EmpowerLink. We believe that personalization equals dignity. The more that we can personalize each service to every person in need, whether in a refugee camp, whether in Ukraine, or whether with our partners in the Netherlands, that every person we engage with has a dignified response and is able to do the things that they want to do. EmpowerLink is a powerful integrated platform as a service, meaning that from the beneficiary side, they only use the tools that they have. But from the back end, and what our customers are able to use is integrated softwares at the tip of the spear of the technologies that are available today, including facial recognition, digital wallets, being able to use natural language processing for translation, being able to have a conversation with a bot that can actually provide them the assistance that they require. Over the last 2 years, our customers have exchanged over 250 million messages, accessing more than 2 million people's ability to provide assistance to them. We've coordinated over $50 million in cash assistance, And we've been able to, for our customers, generate more than $80 million of programming for them to deliver services in the field. These 30 countries that we currently operate in, we want to go well beyond this. We've been operational for right now 2.5 years and have gone from our first operations in Libya with our first customer to now being in 30 countries. We're seeking €2 million right now to be able to expand our reach exponentially, to reach 5 million new households, to strengthen our data analytics, which is really about decision-making in the field, grow 30 new nonprofit clients, and be able to access 50 new countries with our services. We believe that through our system, we're going to be able to realize about 3 times worth of growth from our company perspective, but exponentially, efficiently create the opportunity for our customers to reach twice, 3 times, and in some cases, we've been able to reach more than 100% more people than what they had accessed at any time before, to double what they were doing before. We have partners all over the world, but our main partners are within the business sector because we believe that those services that we all access should be given to the people that are in need. We use Twilio and Telerivet. We have a distinct partnership with Meta that we're able to take forward, and we use verified identity integrators such as VerID. We have a team spread across 4 countries in India, Kenya, the UK, and the Netherlands, and we continue to expand every day. We have over 40 developers within our team that are able to develop these systems bespokely for each customer. As you go home today and you think about your family, you go say goodnight to them, please also think about Halima and think about the services that she requires to be able to get the assistance that she needs. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.
Amazing. I mean, we have seen over the last several years that mobile penetration has increased amongst refugees and internally displaced persons. Humanity Link is taking advantage of that and connecting people to resources, as well as sharing life-saving information over their mobile phones. And look at those stats, 250 million messages, reaching 2 million people. It's very impressive. Now, we are coming up on our last pitch. Last but not least, I'm happy to ask Nora Brimo from White Helmets to please come up on stage and share about their work.
Thanks, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I know you are tired, but we saved the best for the last, I promise. I'm happy to present the White Helmets today. I'm the head of the R&D department at the White Helmets organization. I came from a lovely family where everything was going well until I turned 17. My country went into war. In 2011, the war started in Syria. And I found myself as a refugee in Turkey, while my whole life was changed at a glance. I'm originally Syrian. Years after I attended the university, graduated with honor as a bioengineer, I'm a scientist, joined the White Helmets holding a huge message about delivering a remarkable impact for my home country. White Helmets is a humanitarian organization. We are powerful, supportive team members working from our main location in northwest Syria for all the way to America and providing our services for more than 4.5 million beneficiaries in northwest Syria. While one of the White Helmet services is to reduce the impact of unexploded ordnances in northwest Syria. Years after the war, the region is thrilled with the UXO items, which pose a high and significant risk for the local population and community. Hence, the early recovery prevent from effective usage of the agricultural lands, as well as preventing and causes and disadvantage for on the environmental health as well. Moreover, this makes our UXO team work under challenging conditions while they use in manual, non-technical methods, which can cause some risk for their lives. Our innovative idea is to develop an automated drone, which by designing this drone, which is going to be injected with empowered artificial intelligence technology, and will be injected as well with the electromagnetic sensors, and as well it will be equipped with the latest computer vision technologies. So, yeah, we are looking to, before I mentioned our ask, cleaning the remnants of the war is not just saving life, but as well is investment in the humanity. By aiding in protecting the life of the civilians, providing and saving more safe environment, the people will thrive, and as well, we will be able to provide a safer and better future for the whole people. We are looking to collaborate and get at least $130,000, which will enable us to design the first version and first prototype of this drone, while using this drone gonna be a huge game changer. Lastly, with the vision of a safer world in our hearts and innovation in our hands, we empower the skies to become guardians of the ground below. Our drone solution is not just a technology advancement. It's a promise of not returning safety to community lover, to children, and hope to humanity. Let's soar beyond boundaries, because every life matters, and every step we take is a step towards a landmine-free world. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Noura, for that really moving pitch. So White Helmets is taking on a huge challenge in Syria, which is to identify unexploded hazards. Not only will a robotic drone facilitated survey save time, it's more efficient, it's more precise, and most importantly, it's protecting the teams on the ground while saving lives. Thank you so much, Noura. And really, round of applause to all the pitches tonight, to all the teams. They've been working really hard. It's been a long day. So I hope everyone in the audience will find the time to follow up and connect with each one of them. For those of you who are online, so we are sharing a form that you should see very shortly, and just fill out that form to share with us who you'd like to get in contact with, and we'll help facilitate that connection. Now, before we close for the night, I'd like to welcome Sasha Bailey from the CEO of Lux Innovation to share some closing remarks. Sasha.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. I'm still deeply moved by these stories we've been hearing, and it's heartbreaking, and it shows us all the more how important it is that we use innovation and technology and data to find solutions to these most pressing challenges that our world is facing. So I'm deeply inspired by what you have been pitching here, your creativity, your innovation, and your engagement. You are doing innovation with a purpose, and you are an inspiration to all of us. So thank you very much. It's a real honor for Lux Innovation, Luxembourg's National Innovation Agency, to be able to support the Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator of the World Food Programme. We've been able to support you by helping you organize this event today, and I thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, and thanks to my teams that have been supporting that. One of my staff members also, Barbara, also had the privilege of also taking part in the Innovation Committee that has been also helping to select those invited for the pitch today, so I'm really proud of that too. So for us as Luxembourg National Innovation Agency, this topic of humanitarian agency of innovation really actually goes beyond our traditional perimeter of action. And I would also like to say a few words about how that came about, that we became involved in this initiative, which in fact should have been thought of many years before. And so very greatest thanks to our minister for actually making this happen today. So when we as Innovation Agency were set up in the 1980s here in Luxembourg, our focus lay on our manufacturing industry here. Luxembourg had emerged from a steel crisis, and its economy had been hit dramatically. Fortunately, there was a new pillar of our economy developing with the financial sector, but there was a realization in the government that you need to stimulate innovation in other sectors of the economy. The more traditional sectors that needed to be helped to move forward. So our focus as Innovation Agency was very much on manufacturing industry, materials, automotive, later on more into ICT, health technologies, and clean technologies. And how do we do this? We address these challenges by supporting our companies here in Luxembourg with their innovation projects and bringing them into contact with the right partners and with funding opportunities and research. We also do that by, on a more systemic level, by nurturing collaborative partnerships. It's all about making the economy move forward in a sustainable manner, but also by identifying where are the gaps in the ecosystem, gaps that not one actor can solve alone. And it's about fostering these partnerships, as we also heard today in the very interesting fireside chat. So that's what we also deem to do as Lux Innovation here in Luxembourg. So we support the development of startups, and we have our own accelerator program. And this morning also we had a big pitching event on this stage where 10 Luxembourg-based and startups that come from all over the world were also able to pitch. So it's great to be, bringing the morning session together with the afternoon session. So what we really do is also support companies along their line by listening to them, by understanding what it is that they do, what it is that they need, and finding the best solution that suits them. So it's really about understanding what they do and how we can best guide them. Now, the world around us, as we all know, is changing dramatically and at an exponential rate. As we know, we've heard it again and again, the disasters we've been struck by, and your testimonials here have made us, once again, very much more aware of how dramatic it is and how we need to address these challenges. And we've seen how technology can offer the solutions to solve the world's most serious challenges. And it is important that they can solve it if they are channeled correctly and they are kept in line with our fundamental values of human rights and democracy. And that is super important. So whatever support we as Innovation Agency offer our companies and our economy, we must always factor in the changing environment, the way problems we are facing are evolving, and we have to adapt. We have to understand the technologies, what they mean, the opportunities, but also the risks. And we have to address them in a responsible manner. We have to do this in a mindful and an efficient manner at the same time. And it is from this place, and with this in mind, that our partnership with the World Food Programme's Innovation Accelerator also came into being, thanks to our Development Cooperation Department at the Foreign Ministry and our Minister of Development Cooperation. Over the past years, we had already integrated much more the notion of sustainability in the innovation services that we provide, so that companies become more sustainable through innovation, so that our economy becomes more sustainable that way. But we had not as yet considered, as I said, that we could also support humanitarian organizations such as the UN's World Food Programme through innovation, the way we do it here in Luxembourg and the way it's done in many other places in the world. So the common thread is obvious, and the Humanitarian Innovation Accelerator addresses the most challenging topics that the world is facing. We've heard it: health, water, education, emergency, telecommunications. And these are challenges that we can address efficiently with the technology, with the data, and with these brilliant minds that are thinking of new ways of solving these problems through innovation. So seeing how you as teams have been presenting cutting-edge technologies, how you use them to solve these pressing human needs, is tremendously inspiring. And it will certainly drive us forward in our own efforts to render our companies increasingly innovative and to help them, drive them towards developing solutions that can help to solve the problems that our planet is facing. We are home in Luxembourg to thriving university, to successful research and technology organizations such as the LIST, and also to private research centers within groups such as Goodyear, Webasto, ArcelorMittal, and we are home to a growing startup community of well over 500 startups. They can all contribute to solving these problems the world is facing. So I'm really convinced that the Luxembourg innovative, can-do spirit will give birth to further innovative public-private partnerships, such as Emergency LU, which is the mobile satellite communications platform that supports communication coordination efforts of humanitarian organizations in disaster situations. And I think this is also what had inspired our minister to actually bring together these worlds of innovation and development cooperation together here today, and to support the World Food Programme with this accelerator programme. Dear colleagues of the World Food Programme and Luxembourg Development Cooperation Department, it has been a real privilege to work with you. And I hope that today's session will not only help turn ideas presented here today into successful and viable ventures, but above all, that they will help the world's most pressing problems. So thank you for having given us the opportunity as Innovation Agency to also help you a bit along that line. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for that, and for your support and Lux Innovation support in helping us continue to drive such impactful solutions forward. So we are coming to a close. I want to give another round of applause for everyone who came up on stage. And I want to, yes. I do want to highlight a few thank yous, so bear with me. We will be out of here shortly. I just want to thank the organizing team. There are a lot of people in front of the camera, but also behind, who are working with the teams from the start to the point that we got here today. So to the organizing team, to our partners, Lux Innovation, the government of Luxembourg, and the government of Austria, thank you so much for your support. And I hope to see you all out there, after this, connecting with the the innovators and following up. To those of you online, this is the end of the event. Please follow up with the forms that we are sharing. And yeah, thank you, everybody. We'll see you out there, and we'll see you at the barbecue later. Thank you so much.